surging inflation is clobbering living standards. And now there is speculation Rishi Sunak's government is forging closer ties with EU, maybe even negotiating for a Swiss-style deal. For more on this and how this could affect its trading partners, including Manila, Chris Nelson joins us. Chris Nelson, of course, of the British Chamber of Commerce of the Philippines. Hi, Chris. Are you joining us from Manila?
Yes, good morning. Can you hear me? Yes, I'm here in the Philippines. It's nice to be back.
Finally, same time zone. All right. Chris, why don't you, before we go to our trade relations, why don't you give us a little bit more context here? How is the UK economy doing? What is the sentiment like there for both business and, consumer? And are you really negotiating some deal with the EU?
Well, I think first of all, of course, the UK economy is clearly under pressure. It's actually gone into recession. And obviously the forecast by the current Chancellor is that we'll probably decline by about 1.3%, I think, for the year. That's 2023. Obviously, as you know, we've had quite a few changes. Obviously, Prime Minister Sunak is there, and obviously the budget that's now gone ahead has clearly talked about, obviously, further tax increases, and obviously that's going to be pressure on the consumer. And we're going to see that, and obviously we're going to come in. Winter energy bills are a key factor. Inflation in the UK is at about 11%. So these are clearly strong headwinds. On the other hand, and just comparing it to your previous guest, Jonathan Ravallis, the UK stock market is actually holding up. It's about 7,400. The sentiment, obviously, for the consumers is clearly people are feeling the pressure and going to have to budget. From the business perspective, obviously they're also under pressure. However, particularly in certain sectors, I mean, you're actually seeing announcements and closing of actually pubs and restaurants. So, on the other hand, of course, as we've often said, those companies that are interested in trying to do trading and exports outside are obviously focusing on those areas. So, one thing I'd say, though, obviously the markets are now a lot calmer. They would seem to be, and obviously you've seen the sterling actually appreciate. So, in summary, I think strong headwinds, but obviously the markets now have stabilized. The stock market is clearly holding on to where it is, and the currency is appreciated. The consumer is going to be under pressure and need to do, obviously, the significant on the budget side, and companies, yes. However, that also gives opportunities to try and do business abroad because that gives them another outlet.
Actually, that's my next question. How will, the conditions in the UK affect your trade relationship with the Philippines? Because speaking of trade relationship, the ambassador of the UK had said that, the EU remains interested in FTA, but they feel that not all elements are in place yet. I'm very curious, Chris, what elements are missing? I know it's going to be a toss-up among Thailand, Malaysia, and the Philippines.
Yeah, to be fair, that was actually the EU ambassador.
Correct. Is that not how the UK... That's not how the UK feels?
Well, no, I think there's a couple of things we've got to verify. So first of all, I think that was actually at a thing called the European-Philippine Business Dialogue, which we're a co-organizer.
Correct.
And what he quite rightly said was that the economy or the growth between the two, the EU and the Philippines, continues to do well. Obviously, it was impacted by the pandemic. And they're looking to see, and they're trying to get the right elements in place. I think ease of doing business, further opening up of the economy is always factors, right? If I now link it to the UK, and I think we're now looking at a thing called a common tariff approach, which is going to be, I believe, actually launched in March or April of next year. It's going through the process. As you know, when the UK left the EU, we rolled over a lot of agreements, excuse me, and in that case, of course, goods from the Philippines going into the UK still benefit from GSP+. Finally, what I'd say, actually, specifically on UK and Philippine relations, it is at a very good level. There's always a lot of interest. I think we have a very active work, not just the Chamber, but in conjunction with the Embassy, with our ambassador, obviously now Lobo Feast, and also with the Department of International Trade. And this, I think, is a 76 year of diplomatic relations. And I think there are good contacts, and we strongly believe they will continue to grow. Now, whether that will end up in an agreement, I think that's something else. But again, obviously, what we'd like to see is the Philippines join RCEP, because also the UK is looking to broaden its connections with regional agreements. I hope that puts into context.
Chris, I'm not going to ask my favorite question to you about our FTA, not this time. So let's talk about, pork. Meat seems to be the jewel in the crown for Philippine-UK trade. I know that, they're up 41%? Your exports to the Philippines up 41%, but that's what we buy from you. What about the other way around? For those wondering, what do you buy from us? Where is the opportunity here?
Oh, I think there's plenty of opportunity both ways. But yes, you're right. First of all, great growth in terms of pork exports. We're up 41% year to date. But that's also a help actually to the Philippines in terms of inflation and food security, which was a topic discussed on your earlier segment. And I think just to show you that we work closely with the trade board, AHDB, they're here today, and we have another event on Friday to further strengthen those connections with the Philippine importers and further develop, which is high quality, but good for the pricing for the Philippines. In terms of what goes back, that continues to grow. That focus obviously on fruit and vegetables, of course, mangoes is part of that. We also have aircraft, because I think there's conversion here, and electrical equipment. And there is always an opportunity, and I think there is a further opportunity, and I'm sure there is a lot of interest, not only both sides, and we have at the Chamber obviously highlighting the opportunities here, but we also work closely with the Philippine Embassy, the Department, their Trade and Investment Office in the UK. So great opportunities, but yes, pork is a singular success, and it's a help to both sides. And in that context, obviously, we encourage the further extension of the lower tariffs, because that will appreciate and help the supply.
All right, Chris, we don't have much time. My final question to you is, what's going to be the focus for 2023? What is the new biggest possibility you're seeing for UK-Philippine trade relations? Just a word, no need to explain.
I think further growth. I think you might be able to see visits there. We hope, obviously, the government will send people there. We want to see high-level visits and continue to grow. So I use the word growth. I hope that's my one word of the day.
All right, and that's a good word. Thank you so much, Chris, for joining us today. Always a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you, and thanks to all your viewers.
All right, now congratulations.